the topic for today is picking up the pieces. And this is Success Mentorship Call number 107. And the reason we're doing this topic today is that we're experiencing right now, as a result of this pandemic, an opportunity to either fly or not fly. Let's put it like that. Normally, when we are dealing with picking up the pieces, it's a result of a lot of our own activities. We made plans and the plans didn't work. We entered into a project and the project didn't work. And literally, we crashed and burned. And so picking up the pieces is really about how to get back on track. What do we do after this pandemic? What do we do in spite of this pandemic? How do we go forward in our lives? Where we are right now, a lot of the things that we planned to do and that we planned would happen did not happen. And as a result, we find ourselves at a point where we must go forward. We have to say, how do we go forward? How are we going to be sure in an unsure world? And as we look at how we go about picking up the pieces, I want us to think about 4 variables. Values. What values must we develop, or what values must we alter in order to go forward victoriously? Relationships. You know, there's some relationships that this crisis, this pandemic has let us know that these relationships do not work or do not benefit us. So what relationships do we need to cultivate or eliminate? Actions. What actions should we follow? What actions must we take in order to be victorious and to survive and thrive? And then priorities. What must we do first? And so in order to really pick up the pieces and go forth, go forward, there are 7 things I want us to take a look at. I'll call it 7 steps. And the first step is to really assess your situation. And when I say that, I think about Ben Franklin's method. Ben Franklin said that when you want to make a decision to go forward, to do anything, you must assess where you are right now. And you must look at it from the positive side and from the negative side. And in doing so, you're able to evaluate what's working and what's not working. And so when you assess your situation, there are two points to make. One, to look at what you don't like about where you are right now. Many of us don't like the fact that we're not secure. Many of us don't like the fact that maybe things are changing and we don't have a lot of control over the external world. Maybe we don't like the fact that where we are right now is a result of our own, you might say, lack of proper planning. But whatever it is, we have to own it. We have to assess it. The other side of that is to look at the things we do like. One thing that this pandemic has done is given us time to be alone, time to be separate from the crowd and away from our jobs and our professions in many instances, not everyone. But it's given us a chance to reflect on what we must do and how we must do it. And so in that reflection now, we can see things about ourselves and see things about our world and our surroundings that can guide us as we move to the next level. When I think about this whole process of picking up the pieces of looking at where you are and where you want to go and assessing what you have and what you don't have, what you like and what you don't like, I think of a quote from Deepak Chopra. And Deepak said this. He said, "Life is indeed a perplexing puzzle, a mystifying mystery where there are no extra pieces, with each and every one of us having a unique place to fill." Let me read that again. Life is indeed a perplexing puzzle, a mystifying mystery where there are no extra pieces, with each and every one of us having a unique place to fill. And what this is really saying is about this pandemic is that in spite of all of that, there's still a puzzle, a greater picture that we're a part of. The pandemic is just an experience that we're going through. It's almost like a night that we go through, but we always know that there's a day that's coming soon. And so when we assess this situation, we have to assess it from that perspective of hope and faith, that no matter what is going on in the external world, we have a purpose and reason for being here. And that if we focus on that purpose and reason, then we'll be okay. The second key is to assess this. What lessons can I learn from this experience? What lessons can I learn from this experience? I know many of us, a lesson we're learning is that, I wish I'd saved more money. Okay. Another lesson we're learning is that, there are a lot of things that I could have been doing that may have changed my position right here as a result of this present situation that I did not do last month or last year or last quarter. Look at some of the lessons that we learn. We learn when you have crisis, you find out who's with you and who's not with you. And so when we go through this pandemic stage, we can recognize and realize that there are times when there are certain people that have been sort of in our space that we may need to give them an opportunity to do something else. We may learn that we've been too dependent on that job, that source of income. We may learn that, something we thought was very secure and solid is not. And so when we look at these things that, these lessons that we learn, I recommend this. As we do the assessment, write down the things you like, the things you don't like. As you look at the lessons you learned from this situation, write them down. You see, it's not enough just to think it, but when you write it down, it gives you a chance to visualize it. And the moment you write something, it stimulates something else in your brain. And so each letter, each word that you write on the page is like an anchor to other thoughts and other conscious levels in your brain. So assess your situation, write the things down, write the lessons that you can learn from the situation. The third key is to ask yourself, what will I do differently? Based on the experience that I'm having right now, based on the experience that me and my family are having right now, what would I do differently? This type of analysis can help bring about more clarity. More clarity about the truth of your situation. This type of analysis can make you look at it and say, you know what? I don't need to be that dependent on this position, on this person, on this job, on this activity. What would I do differently in my values? Maybe I was so busy chasing shiny things that I was not thinking about the rainy day. What would I do differently about my relationships? Maybe I've surrounded myself with people who are less fortunate, less clear, so that I can be the leader. I used to tell my son, if you're the smartest person in the group, you need to get out of that group. If you're the richest person in a group, you definitely need to find another group. What will I do differently in my actions? Maybe now I'll pursue some other streams of income so that I'm not so dependent on a job. Maybe I'll pursue better relationships. If you want to have friends, be friendly. Relationships are a lot like a garden. If you want to have beautiful flowers, you have to cultivate. If you want to have beautiful relationships, you have to cultivate them. Perhaps you want to be more mindful, more focused on the now. One thing we often learn when we're in an environment where we have to be with ourselves, that we have a tendency to look in that mirror and say, I've been captured by the past, or I've been so focused on the future that I haven't done anything in the present to be more mindful of where you are right now. One of the things that's really come out in this pandemic is the importance of good health. What can I do to be healthier? What can I do to strengthen my immune system? There are always going to be things out there attacking your body, attacking your being. So what can I do to change that? How can I build my immune system? How can I keep my blood pressure down? How can I regulate my sugar? So this idea of being more healthy, knowing that the stronger your health, your holistic body system, health system, the more prepared you are to handle whatever comes along. Step 4, to set some new goals and priorities. When we look at where we are right now, when we've had a crisis, when we're picking up the pieces, you don't pick up the pieces and do the same things that you did before. When you pick up the pieces, everything is on the table now. Every goal that you said you wanted to accomplish is on the table. The vision that you had of yourself and what you want to be, do, and have is on the table. And so the idea is that at this point, when you have this time to be still and know, to look at what are the new goals? What are the goals that you need to set aside? Because many times we develop our goals based on where we are at that time. This pandemic situation has taken us to another place. And so it may reflect that some of the goals we set in a prior time and may not be applicable right now. What are the priorities? You see, priorities are the key, because our priorities guide our actions. And so review our goals, our personal goals, our family goals, our financial goals, our spiritual goals, our community goals. And now set new ones. If the other ones are still operative, that's fine. In other words, the whole idea of coming out and picking up the pieces is that everything is on the table. Maybe you were doing everything right. Well, at least validate that. Review it and validate it. Whatever it is, develop new goals that you write down and use the goal process and new priorities so that you can determine the amount of time you have to spend to make it happen. Step 5, make a new plan. Make a new plan based on the goals that you now have determined after your revision, after your thinking, after your meditating on the present situation. Now, as I keep saying, when you look at it, if everything was fine, then you just do more of the same. But the object of any type of situation that creates a wake up in you, it's important to don't be stuck on any one situation, but always be open to new ideas, to new stuff. So make a plan based on your new goals, your new priorities, and make a plan starting now. It doesn't matter what month it is on the calendar. We don't live by the calendar. We live by the days. And so make a plan right now for 1 year. You know, all of the doctors, all of the health officials say that this pandemic, this thing is going to come back again next year. And so what should you be doing now so that if it comes next year, if it doesn't, hallelujah. But if it comes next year, that you are now prepared to make a change. You're now prepared to be victorious and make it happen. Once you made that plan, share the plan with supportive people. One of the messages of this pandemic is that we are totally related. that everything is interrelated. Then somebody doing something silly over here and being exposed to a virus can impact everybody they meet. And so as a result now, to recognize the power of the mastermind, to recognize that power, that I am power, that when two or more gathered on one accord. And so getting through this to the next point, is important to be aware that you need other people, that there are certain powers you cannot access by yourself, that the harmonic relationship between you and other human beings is necessary to give you the power to go where you want to go. When you share your plans, your goals, and your priorities with supportive people, one thing this pandemic has shown to us is who's not on the team, who's not necessarily looking out for your best interests. So share with supportive people so that you can now go forward in victory. And then finally, the seventh step is to keep growing and going. Keep going and growing. The two go together. Keep going and growing, keep growing and going. In other words, from this point on, to be committed to that sense of excellence, that every day and every way I'm getting better every day. Every day and every way I'm doing a little more towards my goal, that every step I take is a step towards the direction that I want my life to go. That when you keep going and growing, you recognize the fact that no matter how dark, how bad the situation may be, that there's always going to be a tomorrow. There's always going to be a sunrise. There is no night so dark that the sun does not arise at the proper time. Recognize that we grow through challenge. That though the journey may be hard, it needs to be hard to create in us that sense of growth, that sense of challenge. As they say, we rise to meet the occasion. The greater the challenge, the greater the energy that you have to exert to make it happen. We must always, always recognize that whatever we want to accomplish, it's a month by month, week by week, day by day, hour by hour, second by second. In other words, apply mindfulness to our activities so that every moment we can say to ourselves, what's the best use of my time right now based on my goals, my vision, my purpose, my priorities, and then act accordingly. And so, folks, how do we pick up the pieces to move forward through this experience in total victory? 1, remember our values. Look at the values, that the things we hold dear to ourselves, and reevaluate them based on this experience. Look at our relationships. Look at the ones that hinder and the ones that uplift. Look at our actions, the ones that empower and give us positive results as opposed to the ones that create procrastination and failure. Look at our priorities so that we can always say we're doing the absolute best. We're doing, from moment to moment, we say, what is the best use of my time right now? And we act accordingly. To use the 7 steps to help you use these different variables, these values, relationships, actions, and priorities, so that you can use that process to assess your situation, to look at the things you like about it, the things you don't like about it, to look at the lessons that you can learn, to write them down, to understand them, to be very critical of yourself in the sense that it's nobody's fault. Where you are and what you're doing right now is a result of your own thinking. The external world does its thing, but you have the power to respond to it. 3, to look at what you'll do differently, to make a list of the things that you'll do differently. Maybe you'll work the budget now. Maybe you'll follow your plans better. Maybe you'll recognize that life is not about trial and error, it's about trial and growth. Be more mindful. Be more healthy. Set new goals and new priorities, because your goals and your priorities are what give your life direction. Number 5, make new plans, written plans, because your plans are the blueprint for your reality. Every skyscraper is built with a blueprint. Every victory is built with a plan. Share your plans with supported people. One thing that this pandemic has taught us is that we need each other, and each and every action of other people affects and impacts us. And then finally, be committed to keep going and growing.